right, it's a Premier Fantasy Podcast. I'm Tito, Jeff Thidoff, joined again by the one and only Chase Smith from the aptly named Chase Smith Podcast. Chase, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing great, Tito. We got 2 more episodes coming at you. We're talking about RBs tonight. And then here at the start of the week, we're doing our final fantasy preseason 2021 rankings. But right now, Tito, RBs, and I know we have very different lists already.
You know, I've gone out on a limb already with my number 1 RB for this year. I'm going with Dalvin Cook for Minnesota. He gets more carries inside the 10-yard line than any other back the last 2 years. I think that the Minnesota offense is still going to be dangerous. So I think Dalvin Cook edges out Christian McCaffrey for best running back in fantasy football this year. You're laughing at me.
I am. I don't even have McCaffrey or Cook in my top 5, Tito.
You're kidding me.
I'm not
kidding.
I've
got to get in the league with you. Okay, I'll give you my top 5 then.
Okay,
my top 5 are Cook, McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, Zeke Elliott. That's my top 5.
All right, here are my top 5. Derrick Henry, who I call Henny, which you don't like Patty Mahomes.
Yeah.
I just call him Henny. So
different generation.
I go Henny. I have Barkley at 2. I'm super high on Barkley this year. I have Kamara at 3, McCaffrey at 4, and Cook at 5. Aaron Jones is number 6. And it doesn't make sense. My hesitations with McCaffrey. I should have the same reservations with Barkley, but for some reason I don't. So I just want to see McCaffrey do it again before I put him up there. And I don't know.
Barkley last year, before he got hurt, I know he got hurt very early. It's not like he was a great running back the first couple games last year either, though. Mm-hmm. You know, he was very mediocre, actually, very pedestrian early on. And coming off that injury, I do have him moved up. I did have him as low as 15 on my list when they put him on the PUP list. No, when he was on the PUP list, I had him down low. He's in my top 10 now. But I'm not as high on Barkley, and I worry about the wear and tear. Same thing with your boy Henny. Yeah. I worry about the wear and tear on him because of how he had 400 touches plus last year, and playoffs and everything.
Those are valid concerns, Tito. And when you're looking for an extra game this season, 17 games this season, I think those are super valid concerns. But if you believe that Henny is not normal and not human, then he's given you no reason to think he's going to slow down. And it's a very good Titans team, and who got Julio Jones. It's not like they're going to crowd the box. This guy is massive.
Oh, true. Yeah. All true. And I could end up being an idiot for having Henry ranked 6th, or sorry, I have him ranked. I got him ranked 6th right now is where I've got him. I could be an idiot for that because he certainly could score 20 touchdowns. I got to shy away from guys that have that many carries, in back-to-back years. He's had a lot of carries both years. I'll tell you one guy who I like a lot is Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
With Washington. I've got him ranked right now. He's the 9th for me. I think Gibson's got a monster year. I think you're going to see them. They've talked about employing like a similar attack to what they had with Christian McCaffrey in Carolina. Mm-hmm. And they're going to use him quite a bit. I know Gibson had a foot injury last year for a while, but I think that guy's going to have a stud year this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think Washington is being slept on a little bit, and Ron Rivera, who knows how to use a running back like that, he's not afraid to use him and deploy him all over the field. So are we? I feel like there's a couple different groups and tiers of running backs here, Tito, and a lot of them we seem to agree on that outside of that top 5 or 6, there's kind of a drop.
There is. Yeah, I agree. There is. I think that for me, the drop comes after 7, really, for me. I think Najee, 6. Harris is my 7th running back. I know we argue about that.
Oh, my goodness.
I've got Henry 6th, Harris 7th. But there's certainly a drop off after that. The thing is this year, too, with how few running backs you can really totally count on. You've got to grab one early. You got to get a stud early if you can.
What constitutes a stud for you? Like you say, there's a few of these running backs you have to nab early. What does that mean? What should we be looking for, Tito, when you draft like an RB1 for your team that's a start every week, no worries about matchups? What are we looking at there?
You're looking for a 3-down back first. If it's a 3-down back that's got at least an average offensive line, then that's somebody who I would consider to be an RB1. If you also have somebody who can maybe not be a 3-down back, but catches a ton of passes, Austin Eckler comes to mind. That's somebody else who you also could consider an RB1 as well. But you really want a combination of the two. And among the top running backs I'm looking at, I mean, Henry's the one who really is not an elite pass catcher,
right,
as far as running backs go. I mean, guys like Mixon and I mentioned Eckler, Kamara, those guys all Cook and McCaffrey. Those guys all catch a lot of passes out of the backfield as well, yes, which adds to their value, because even if they have that rare game of 10 carries for 20 yards, they might get 80 yards in receiving.
Mm-hmm.
If Henry gets 10 carries for 20 yards, Henry's going to end up with 10 carries for 20 yards. And that's about it.
Correct. Yeah. I think when you also look at RB1, you have to, you mentioned third down backs. You're also looking at like who doesn't have a backup is kind of what you're meaning there. Like a true bell cow, someone who's just going to be force fed the ball. And you want to look for offenses too, right? Like if a team is going to be winning a lot, they're probably going to more likely to run the ball. If it's a team that's going to be behind a lot of points, like your Steelers, I don't know if Najee Harris is worth a third pick in the draft. Sorry to bust your bubble there. But I gave
you props. I got Chubb 11th. I should have a lower price. How much the Browns going to be winning?
It's you mean higher?
Yeah, I should have him higher. No, yeah, I should have him higher than that based on that, I guess.
You should. I have no idea why he's below Najee Harris. That's absurd.
I've got him above Barkley though, so that's actually below Barkley now after I've just adjusted my rankings. But yeah, you're right, Dave. Look at the offenses also.
So a couple names, Tito, I want to throw out there that people might not be as high on, that might not perform as well as they did last year. Mm-hmm. One is Josh Jacobs. What's the reasoning behind, Josh Jacobs not performing the way that he did last year? He was a very, very, very solid running back last year and probably helped a lot of teams either secure that bag or, make a good playoff run.
Well, they added Kenyon Drake and they invested some money in him also. Drake's making more than a lot of starting running backs are in the NFL, actually. And, Gruden has downplayed that, but they do like Drake quite a bit. I personally think they should have invested that money elsewhere. I don't know why they did that, but maybe Gruden has a reason for it. But that is what's hurting Jacobs' value right there, as far as I'm concerned, is the fact that Drake now is on board, because Drake is going to steal carries. They didn't pay Drake that much money to come and sit on the bench. He is going to get some plays out there. I expect him to get some carries near the goal line as well. It's it might end up being like a 60-40 split between the two on touches. Mm-hmm. So that kind of hurts Jacobs' value versus a situation like, we talk about Barkley or like Jonathan Taylor. I know Taylor's got Marlon Mack there, but those guys are going to get more carries, a bigger percentage of the carries than I think Jacobs will with the Raiders.
And you're not high on Taylor either this year.
I've got him ranked 14th right now. I want to see for sure when Wentz. I know they've said that these guys might come back week 1. I want to see that for sure. Ewers the guard and Wentz the quarterback. I want to see if they're going to be back. If they're going to back to week 3 or week 4, that's a big difference.
Yeah. So you have these like this RB1 tier, which we talked about, yep. And then you have this like Chubb, Taylor, like Jacobs. Would you put James Robinson in this kind of like next tier?
I didn't, because I'm not sure. I mean, Robinson's still going to be their number 1 back there. I know that even though they added Etienne, I know that they're going to add. They're still got a lot of carries to Robinson there. So I've got Robinson ranked actually even lower than that. Okay. I've got him in a tier even beyond that. So
like probably have like Eckler in that tier, maybe like Melvin Gordon.
I don't have Melvin Gordon there yet either, because I don't know. I know he's going to be the guy who gets most of the carries, but you get these running back situations with rookies coming in, and I'm not sure about Gordon's durability for one thing, because there's a lot of tread gone from those tires. So we'll see how that offense starts to perform with both quarterbacks. I'm not in love with either quarterback,
and look, it's telling. Even once we get past 11-12, we're kind of like, I don't know. They're not going to get that volume, or I don't know that they're really inconsistent. So this really does just really enforce, hey, you need one of those top running backs to really be competitive in fantasy football.
You're gonna the drop off there. That's the. I mean, I know that we talk about the tight end position as far as there's a clear separation between 1 and 12 or whatever. In running backs, and once you get past that first wave of people, the RB1s and all that, I mean, it gets slim pickings then, because I like Joe Mixon a lot. He's a guy who's an RB1 and he can have a big year. Edwards-Helaire for Kansas City. Last year, he was so overdrafted. Yeah. He still ended up as like a top 20 running back, but I think there were higher expectations for him. I think he'll have a better year this year. J.K. Dobbins is an interesting one for me. I don't know where you have Dobbins ranked, but
he's not my top 20.
I've got him at 16th right now, but he's going to Gus Edwards is going to get some touches there in Baltimore. the backup there. And they like him a lot too. I know Dobbins had a great year last year, but I think Edwards is going to steal some touches from him there.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Books like Stephen King's The Shining or Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. If you're on the hunt for book recommendations and enjoy sparkling conversation, come read along with us and then listen in.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Hey, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. I created this podcast to have hard conversations. Conversations that make us human but are also wildly uncomfortable. Conversations that help give voice to the voiceless and to the marginalized. Now you can listen to the entire first season on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Consider this your personal invitation to join the conversation.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Powell, co-host of the Oranges, Oranger, Browns podcast. Check us out anywhere you listen to podcasts. For all your Browns coverage, post-game, pre-game, anything you need Browns, you'll find it here on the Oranges, Oranger, Browns podcast.
Another running back I like a lot that you can probably find value in, David Montgomery, Bears running back. Their coach says it's very believable. He has 20 carries a game.
Oh, yeah.
That's RB1 volume right there.
Tariq Cohen's not back yet. I've got Montgomery ranked 12th right now on my list. So I'm pretty high on him also. I've got him right behind Chubb and right above Edwards-Helaire. So, yeah, he's a guy I do like quite a bit also. I think that the Bears are going to lean on him, especially if Fields is quarterback out there.
Yep.
Not that they're afraid of Fields running the offense or anything, but the only place Fields might steal a rushing touchdown or two from him, but I think they'll rely on the running game quite a bit early on in Fields' career.
Yep. Another running back I have right around that Montgomery kind of Robinson Gordon area is Chris Carson for the Seahawks. And we haven't talked a lot about the Seahawks, Tito. We haven't talked about big game Russell, hustle bustle Russell Wilson,
right.
Whatever. We didn't talk much about the receivers. They have really great wideouts, and they're always just there. And Chris Carson is that running back who is kind of emerged as kind of like that lead back in Seattle. And if he was on your team, that's just exactly what he was. He wasn't flashy, but he was very consistent.
He was. And, a lot of people liked Rashad Penny last year. But the inconsistency of Pete Carroll deciding on who the lead running back is going to be and him falling in love with Penny and all that probably hurt Carson a little bit. I've got Carson ranked 18th right now.
Okay.
So I think he's a very solid RB2. He's not an RB1 for me, but he's a very solid RB2 for me. I do like the Seahawks offense. If they let Russ cook, then the offense is very, very dangerous.
Who do you have higher, Chris Carson or Kareem Hunt?
I've got Carson higher than Hunt.
Gotcha. I have him right there back to back.
I've got them fairly close to each other, but one of the guys I do have that I'm high on this year, but is Darrell Henderson for the Rams. And, you talk about that Rams offense. We think they're going to score a lot of points. And I thought when Akers first went down with that injury that they might bring somebody in, like another veteran. When you talk about Adrian Peterson being out there and Gurley being out there. But they've stuck with Henderson so far. They haven't brought anybody else in yet. You think they would have by now, this late in the preseason. So I've got Henderson in my top 20.
Yep. When you look to trade a running back, do you have to overpay for one of these guys? Or like if you don't draft one of these top 6, 7 guys and you really want to have that at your running back position, what are you expecting to give up, Tito? Do you have to overpay for some of these guys?
For those top tier guys we talked about, you're going to have to, because usually what happens is if you're trying to deal for one of them, you're dealing from a position of weakness. Typically, it's not like you're doing it because you've got great running backs or a great situation. Usually it's because you're desperate in a lot of ways to get one of these guys. So, I've seen guys try the zero running back theory. They won't draft any running backs till late in the draft and try to get guys who are just going to score touchdowns or maybe third down backs that catch passes out of the backfield. I don't like that, but it does work for some people. But yeah, if you have to deal for one, typically it's going to be you have to pay a premium plus to get one of these guys.
Man, sounds terrifying. I don't think I've ever seen someone succeed without drafting a. I've never heard of that. That's
they'll
insane.
draft like very super late in the draft, and you take a couple of backups. You take a couple of guys that just get goal line carries. Someone like touchdown Tommy Vardell would be a great running back if you're in a 0 running back situation. Someone like that who would just come in and get goal line carries. But I don't necessarily love that one. I want to see what happens in New England. I want to see if Belichick actually really does go with just one running back this year, primarily in Damian Harris. There's talk that Sonny Michel might get cut even from the Patriots, but I want to see what he can do. And then, the rookies are interesting for me because you've got Carter with the Jets. You've got Sermon with San Francisco. You've got Williams in Denver. And I think that Trey Sermon's got the best shot at having a monster year, but Carter's going to get a lot of carries early on for the Jets.
Yeah. I think Sermon would be the one I go with. Other one, I think that Carter for the Jets is another worth a flyer, especially in like these dynasty or keeper leagues. Obviously,
right.
They're going to go first. Can we talk about handcuffs?
Yes.
Okay.
What do you think?
So let's explain that concept first, because that is kind of a little insider, baseball talking, what that means. People who might not play a lot of fantasy, what are we talking about with handcuffs there, Tito?
So if you've got a top running back, like we talked about, those ones, the early part of the draft, top 6 to 10 running backs, somewhere in there, the top 10 running backs, then you may want to invest in their backup running back also to protect yourself in case he goes down. Like if you had, if you take Dalvin Cook, you want to get Madison, the backup for him. It's protecting yourself against a devastating injury where you have no place else to go. Now, if you draft smartly with running backs, you might not need a backup, not need a handcuff. But if I'm investing and I am investing in one of my leagues in Dalvin Cook this year, I'm going to overdraft for Alex Madison. I would get him before somebody else gets him. If you're drafted, but you got to pay close attention to the latest news. Like right now, I don't think many people know this, but the backup for Christian McCaffrey is not Chuba Hubbard, the rookie they just picked up. It's a running back they signed from Ohio State as a free agent, Rod Smith. He right now is projected to be their backup running back. Chuba Hubbard's going to be like the change of pace third down back. But if something happens to McCaffrey, I expect Rod Smith to get the bulk of the carries there.
Look, and that might be the name that makes this whole podcast worth for someone there, Tito.
Right.
That might be the name right there, Rod Smith, backup in North Carolina. Another popular backup, one who always seems to come through. Zeke gets injured a lot. You got Pollard in Dallas, and I know we both are high on the Dallas's offense this season. Zeke underperformed last year, as in he didn't have like an elite season. He had a very good season,
right?
But it wasn't as elite as you feel like it should have been. You talked about Madison in Minnesota, and then the Saints running back as well, who backs up Kamara, and his name is slipping my mind. I had him on my team last year.
Latavius Murray.
Yes, Latavius Murray. Yes, you passed my test, Another name.
You knew all along. I know you knew it.
Another name. I would have pulled it out eventually. It might have been at like 1 a.m. this morning in bed. Like, it's Latavius Murray. But it's another name that is just like this perennial handcuff that always pays off at some point down the line. So if you get to the I don't know if those names will survive the late rounds, but it's always good to invest in backup running backs. There's always injuries, and all of a sudden a player you draft in round 13 could have this high value. It could be a trade piece. It could fill in, and it's always worth drafting backup running backs, Tito.
And really, Latavius Murray might not be the handcuff there in New Orleans, by the way. Devonta Freeman's getting a lot of play so far, the one they just signed, the ageless Devonta Freeman. So he may end up being the backup guy over Latavius Murray. So this was good stuff, Chase.
Yeah, running backs make or break a team, make or break a draft, and hope this helps someone out there, Tito.
We got one more to go. I'm at Fit Happens, by the way. If you want to follow me on Twitter, he is at, not because he's just Chase Smith. He is at the Chase Smith on Twitter. So at the Chase Smith. Don't just go to some random Chase Smith. Go to the Chase Smith. Follow him on Twitter, Chase Smith Podcast.
Thanks, Tito. A great time. We'll catch you next week. And hey, good luck everyone drafting this weekend. I have one on Sunday night. I have one next Wednesday, and I think another one on Monday night. So they're all coming up, Tito. It's going to be good stuff.
Here we go, man. Away we go.
All right. See ya.